For the love of all things holy, for the sake of Cade Cunningham, for the sake of Jaden Ivey, for the sake of Pistons fans everywhere, please, Monty Williams, stop playing this trio we're about to talk about together.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Later on, we'll talk about some positives. Monty Williams seems to be trying out a better rotation than what we had seen before. It didn't result in the win, but it gives signs to believe that you're going to see a better rotation and less players moving forward. At least that's the hope. Hopefully it wasn't just a one-game thing. We'll talk about what I mean in just a second. And also, the Pistons have a few winnable games coming up. They need to take advantage of that if they want to end this season with a few more wins than they started off with, obviously, and end off the season on a high note. Because at this point in the season, whenever you can get close to winnable games for the Detroit Pistons, you need to take advantage of them because they're not going to come around often. So we'll talk about that a little later. But we have to start with this. For the love of God, Detroit Pistons, for the love of God, Monty Williams, everyone, please, can we please stop trying to push this trio of players to start? The Ausar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren trio. Can we please stop trying to play them together? It doesn't make sense logically. It doesn't make sense eye test wise. It doesn't make sense numbers wise. There's not a single facet where that idea makes sense. Not in the eyes, not logically, not numbers, it doesn't make sense anywhere. Please, for the love of God, stop pushing it. I'm going to back it up with the numbers here. But before we even get into the numbers, I want to play this video from Monty Williams. I was at the recent game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I want to play this clip from Monty Williams after the game. He was asked about staggering guys. I just want you guys to listen to what he had to say here.
Like what you were seeing from that?
It's a tough, I'm sure that we've talked about it. I'm sure everybody else is talking about it. The tough part is if I take J.I. out and then I bring him back with the second unit, no matter how you slice it, you're going to have two small guards out there with Malachi and Sass and J.I. So it's a tough one. I may have to bring Stewie out, put Tech in, and bring Stewie back with the second unit. We need an anchor out there on both ends, and we just didn't have that tonight.
So, just in that clip, just with that short clip, it seems like even Monty Williams is admitting or even acknowledging that they have to stagger these guys just to make it work. That they got to get these guys out of there just to make it work. They got to get Tech in there just to provide enough spacing. Why are we, instead of doing that, why don't you just start Simone Fontecchio? It was working. Everyone was playing well. The defense was top 10. Cade was playing spectacular. Why are we going through all these different loops when we could just make it simple? Why are we doing this? I want to get into the numbers, though. So this is Cade Cunningham. When he's on the floor, when Cade Cunningham shares the floor with Ausar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren, they have a 107.4 offensive rating. They have a 117 defensive rating, a minus 9.59 net rating. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Again, anybody with just any kind of logical thinking would know, you put three guys that the team, that the defense is not going to guard, that they're just not going to respect. Oh, that's probably going to screw spacing up. That's probably going to lead to higher turnovers. That's probably going to lead to less driving lanes. That's probably going to lead to less space in the half court. I don't understand. Before we go further with the numbers, because there's more, I don't understand this is about to be, I'm trying not to go on a rant here, but I don't understand why the Detroit Pistons are the only team in NBA history to get a top overall pick, to get a number one overall pick, to get a franchise player, and then do the exact opposite of what he needs to have to succeed. I kid you not, I have never witnessed it before in my life. Any other top overall pick that gets drafted, they get the team built around them. And you want to know what the main reasons are? Not only do you want to see them play well, they want to be proven right. The front office doesn't want to be proven to be a joke that they missed on their pick. So they always get everything built around them. They get things built that makes them most comfortable and gives them the best chance to succeed, except the Detroit Pistons, where we believe in no spacing, no shooters, and no respect in the half court. Screw driving lanes. Let's take contested pull-ups all game. Like, I don't understand it. I've never seen it before in my life. I truly do not understand it. So you have those numbers with Cade when he shares the floor with those three. It goes terrible, as usual. Let's just look at the trio of Ausar Thompson, Jalen Duren, and Isaiah Stewart. When those three share the floor together, they have a 104.5 offensive rating and 114.6 defensive rating, a minus 10.16 net rating. Oh, that's pretty damn awful. And that's in 265 minutes. That's pretty damn bad. That's pretty awful. However, if you remove just one of them, because I know this is going to be hard for people to understand. I know this is going to be hard for people to grasp. But with three non-shooters out there, Stu can shoot. He's proven that he's taken a step as a shooter, but defenses are not going to respect it, which is something I told you guys in the offseason. It's going to take at least a year before that really changes anything spacing-wise, as you saw in the Cavs game, as you saw what was this last game? The Pistons got absolutely blitzed, destroyed, and I forget who they played. But either way, you've seen it. If you take just one of them off the floor, though, you just might be able to survive. Because two non-shooters is better than three. So if you take Stu off the floor and Ausar and Jalen Duren, they only have a minus 0.9 net rating. If you take Ausar off the floor, Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart actually have a plus 4.8 net rating. So if you just take one of them off the floor, all of a sudden everything's fine. You're at least a competent basketball team. But, the Pistons want to truck out all three of them. But let's keep it going. Cade Cunningham, when he's on the floor with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart and Ausar Thompson's off the floor, they have a 119.4 offensive rating, 110.39 defensive rating. They have a plus 9.04 net rating. When you take Ausar off and just play him with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart, because you want to know why? Because the shooting guard and small forward positions are going to be occupied by guys who can space the floor. I know, it just rocket science. I know, it's biology out here. It's tough for anybody to understand. Cade Cunningham, when he's on the floor with Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart's off the floor, they have a net rating of plus 0.32. They have a defensive rating of 108.73 and an offensive rating of 109.05. You may ask, is that sustainable? Probably not, but the offensive rating was much lower at the beginning of the year and starting to go up more as Monty Williams is figuring out ways to play those guys together more, and since obviously acquiring Simone Fontecchio. So what did we learn here today, class? Please, for the love of God, stop trying to force these three together. I've been a big proponent. I've been one of the main guys saying that you have to play the core four guys together. Cade, Ivey, Ausar, Duren. Troy Weaver, out of his own mouth, a few weeks ago after the trade deadline, he said one of the main goals was to play the core four guys together and get them reps. That's what he said. He said that himself. So it seems like if we are to believe what they say, we align pretty well, me and Weaver, on this. However, if you want to sit Ausar just so you can start Isaiah Stewart, damn it, go ahead. Go ahead. Because if it means helping Cade, if it means giving Cade spacing, Cade had the best 4-game stretch of his career probably after the All-Star break. And you know what he was rewarded with? Less spacing, less driving lanes, no space to go anywhere. That's what he was rewarded with, because as soon as Isaiah Stewart came back, no spacing, all of a sudden you see Cade not getting to the paint. That's not even to mention Ivey, who struggled mightily the last few games. Can't get to the paint in the half court because there's no driving lanes to go. Guys are helping. Cade hit, I forget who it was. Cade hit someone with a nasty in and out behind the back move, left them in the dust, and then was immediately by two people. I had to kick to Ausar Thompson, who's one pass away, which, by the way, that's a rant in and of itself, which I've talked about on numerous occasions on this podcast. Why is Ausar Thompson constantly one pass away from the strong side? Why? Why? I'm going to give you guys a little basketball lesson here. If you're playing basketball, if you even play pickup basketball, let's say the guy with the ball is on the right wing, and you are guarding somebody on that right corner. If you're guarding someone on that right corner, let's just say they have no arms, okay? Let's just say they have no arms, so you know they can't shoot, okay? Let's just say that. The person you're guarding in that right corner has no arms. Are you going to guard them? So you're going to be sagging in on that block. If that person at the right wing takes one dribble, is he going anywhere? Where is he going? Because all his on-ball defender has to do is ice him and push him to the sideline, and now he's being pushed right into you. So where he's going? I don't understand why they continue to put Ausar one pass away from Cade. He needs to be on the weak side corner, so when Cade drives, he can at least take a few dribbles and have a chance to get to the rim. Having him continuously one pass away, it just blows my mind that they continue to do it. But I'm going to end up ranting forever. All I need to get through is please the numbers back up that if you have those three on the floor, it is historically bad. They have an historically bad offense. It's disgusting when they're on the floor. And because of the offense being so bad, they can't play defense because teams are getting out in transition. The team has turned the ball over a ton, and they're getting easy buckets. It doesn't work. It's awful. We have 285 minutes of them playing together. That's awful. We have all kinds of minutes of them playing together with Cade. That's awful. We have so many minutes that show that if you just simply remove one, if you just take one off, all of a sudden they're a competent basketball team. All of a sudden they're outscoring their opponents on the floor. Stop playing Ausar, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren together. And at this point, I don't care if you choose Ausar to sit. I would sit Stu because you know what that does? Instead of having to stagger Stu out to get him be the anchor of the bench, you can just be the anchor of the bench. Simple as that. You don't have to worry about the rotation being clunky. You don't have to worry about the rotation needing creativity. I promise you that would require the least amount of creativity possible. Just sit Stu and let him be the backup five. That's what I would do. Now you don't have to play Wiseman minutes. Now you can cut down to an 8-9-man rotation and bring guys in and out. Next thing you know, you have space in the front, in the starting line. You have space in the second unit, and now everything makes sense. But even then, even if you don't want to do that, even if you are stuck on absolutely forcing Isaiah Stewart to be a starter, so be it. Damn it, sit Ausar then. Sit Ausar, because starting all three of them is absolutely sabotaging Cade and sabotaging Jaden and Ivey. We remember the first 12 games of the year. Remember how we always talk about after the first 12 games of the year what Cade looked like after that? It's not just some random game we picked. That's when they decided to stop starting Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, Ausar Thompson, and Jalen Duren together. When they decided to stop starting Cade with a bunch of non-spacers. 34 games, played tremendous. After All-Star break, played the best 4-game stretch of his entire career with spacing around him with Simone Fontecchio, Ausar, and Duren, and Ivey, and Quinn Grimes, and all these guys spacing. He was playing fantastic. You know what he was rewarded with? Crap. He was rewarded with having no space now, no driving lanes, and having to settle for everything being either contested pull-up or driving into three people and having to force up something hoping there's a foul called. It's maddening. It's truly maddening and frustrating as hell that the Pistons just are apparently the only franchise that I've witnessed that gets a franchise player and then doesn't want to put him in positions to succeed. Like they have routinely, not even just Cade, Jaden Ivey too, have routinely put them in positions to fail by starting with a bunch of guys that the defense is not going to guard. For two guards that love to get to the rim, that love to get into driving kick actions. Please. I know we're probably going to continue to see it the rest of the year because they continue to talk about it. The beat writers are writing about it. Monty continues to say something he wants to run the rest of the year. You know how I said that this team has the pieces now to be a near 500 basketball team the rest of the year? It was on Monty to do it. Well, he's already screwed it up. If this is what they're going to do, they've already screwed it up. Like the numbers back it up, the eye test backs it up, the logic backs it up. I don't know what else we need. Truly, I don't understand what else you need. Stop with the trio. Just please, for the love of God, stop. Rant's over. The rant's over. Moving on to something more positive, I guess. A better rotation from Monty Williams we saw in the last game. For the Detroit Pistons. They did still lose pretty badly, but we saw a better rotation. We'll talk about that when we come back. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA and get on your way to being your best self. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off of our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. it's important to let that out, especially to someone who is unbiased in your life. So today I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing this week. I just spent 15 minutes ranting about the Pistons playing this trio together. Even something as small as that, something as small as basketball. Just need to get that stuff off your chest. If you're a Pistons fan, you might need to get something like that off your chest. Just something so small. But even if it's not something small, maybe if it's something really big, something actually really important, you don't want to stuff that down and hold it inside. You need to get that out. And there's no reason to not want to get that out. It makes you feel better. And BetterHelp is the best way to go with trying to do that. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. I'm still a little heated from the first segment. I like in the middle of that first segment, I thought about going over to my lights, cutting the lights off, putting the black hoodie on, and putting the hood over my head and going Darth. I truly just need to hear there's literally nothing backing up playing that trio together. Unless you're trying to lose and sabotage everyone on the floor, including those three together. I just don't understand what we're done with that topic. I gotta move on. We're supposed to be moving on to more positive things. In the Detroit Pistons last game, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on this. Hold on. Why am I forgetting who the Pistons played? I just completely I just had it up. The Magic. Yeah. The Magic. In this last game against the Detroit my God, I'm fumbling all over the place. That first segment has me steaming. In this last game against the Orlando Magic, you did not see the Detroit Pistons play 11 guys. You saw them play a 10-man rotation. And really, actually, you know what? Not going to give them that out. It was a 10-man rotation. And after talking about, after the Cavs game, wanting to get Stu out early and have him play the backup five and try to stagger Jaden, Ivey, and Cade Cunningham, that was something we did indeed see. We saw Cade and Ivey get staggered. You saw Ivey spend a lot of minutes without Cade. You saw Cade spend a lot of minutes without Ivey. You saw Ivey lead the bench unit. You saw Isaiah Stewart come out the game. And Simone Fontecchio come in early with the starting lineup to try to give Cade more spacing. It's funny how you understand that Cade needs spacing, so you have to wait 6 minutes before you get him that spacing. But, is what it is. That's something that we did see against the Orlando Magic. And it's something that they should continue to do moving forward. And James Edwards III of The Athletic wrote an incredible article, I believe, when I'm recording this today, so the 4th of March. He wrote an article saying that the Pistons really do just need to go down to an 8-man rotation. And I could not agree more. If the Pistons could just simply cut down the rotation to 8, or actually, just 8 or 9, but 8 would be even better. Because when you are as bad of a team as the Detroit Pistons are, you want to know what the solution is to winning games? When you're as bad as a team as the Detroit Pistons are, your best solution to win, and I'm going to take a bet and say this is probably the same solution to most teams in the NBA. You play your best players more. And when you have an 8-man rotation, it forces you to play your best players more. Now, the Detroit Pistons have already waived 10,000 people this year. They have 2 or 3 open spots on their roster. So maybe Troy Weaver is just slowly getting his way down to just 8 people left on the roster. So Monty's forced to have an 8-man rotation. I wouldn't throw it past them. They've waived almost the entire roster. They've waived damn near half the people they've traded for. Troy could just be trying to get Monty down to 8 to where he has to run 8. It wouldn't shock me at all. But if they could just get to the 8-man rotation of, let's just go with the starting lineup that they're running right now. So Cade, Ivey, Duren, Stu, and Ausar. I would play Simone, Sasser, and Quinn Grimes. That would be the 8-man rotation I would go. If you have to go 9 deep, either Evan Fournier or Troy Brown Jr. Evan Fournier, now he's older, but he actually has been fine for the Pistons since getting here. He actually has been like decent. He's been pretty good off the bench, I'd say. I don't think he's been bad at all, to be honest, off the bench. For what you want from him, he's not a good defender. He's not going to be out there playing defense. But I think he's playing all right. He's shooting 40% with the Pistons from 3 on 4.0 attempts. I think he's playing all right. So if you want to go 9 deep, play Fournier. Or you could go Troy Brown Jr. But if you go to that, the Pistons will have a better chance to win. And they're so close. They're so close to doing so. And by doing that, what you cut out is minutes for James Wiseman, who his minutes at 5, we now have 3 quarters of the season done with to know that his minutes at the backup 5 are atrocious and are killing the team. So you completely cut his minutes out by doing this. You can get Stu out early and then bring him back in to sub in for Jalen Duren. The easier way to go about that is just to make him the backup 5, so you don't have to worry about staggering all these different lineups. But again, you could do that if you insist on starting these guys. So there's your backup or your big rotation. And then Ausar Thompson and Simone Fontecchio seem to be eating up a lot of the 4 minutes. So you have that too. So when Stu comes out or comes back in to play the 5, you can play Ausar or Simone at that time to take up some of the 4 minutes. You got Cade and Ivey taking up most of the backup point guard minutes. You got Sasser taking up some of that as well. And then you got Fournier and Grimes taking up the wing positions, where they're always playing with either Simone Fontecchio and Ausar, or they're playing with Stu and Duren. Like, you got that working out. And now you don't have to play James Wiseman. Now you don't need to be playing Malachi Flynn. Now you don't need to be playing all these other guys all these minutes and having your bench get absolutely obliterated. Before we end the segment, actually, I want to read this stat. James tweeted this. I give credit where credit's due. This stat was actually incredibly intriguing. Prior to Sunday, the Detroit Pistons bench had the 30th net rating. So they were tied with the worst net rating in the NBA, their bench unit. The bad thing about that's the bad thing. But what makes it even like 10 times worse is that of all the bench units in the NBA, they were playing the 10th most. So you had the worst bench lineup in the NBA playing the 10th most minutes of the benches in the NBA. How? How does that make any sense? Like that it was literally destroying the Pistons. The Pistons probably over the last month have lost 4 games just off of their bench playing too long and playing 5-man units. Like, no joke. I seriously think that if you've watched all these games over the last month, I think you could honestly make the argument that Monty Williams and these rotations and these 5-man bench units have lost the Pistons at least 4 games. Like, I'm not even joking. So just cut down the rotation. You started to do it a little bit. James Wiseman only got 15 minutes. Troy Brown got 9. They started to play Stewart as the backup 5. Just do that. Just do that, and you'd have a better chance of winning. Now, obviously, it didn't result in wins against Orlando. There's a bunch of reasons why I believe that is. We're not going to get into that on the podcast right now. This was just an overall bad game by the entire team. Bad setup, I think, from the get-go. But also just lacking energy, and they just weren't good this game. Like that they were just really bad this game. But moving forward, cut the rotation down. Continue to do what you did in this Orlando game. And if you cut it down to 9 or 8, that would be even better. Play Cade 34, 35 minutes. Play Ivey 34, 35 minutes. Play Ausar 34, 30. Like, play your best players as many minutes as possible, because that's the only way the Pistons are going to have a chance at getting some wins down the stretch. So let me know what you guys think about that. Did you guys like the rotations Monty did against the Orlando Magic, getting Stu out early so he can come back in as the backup 5? Do you guys agree with the starting lineup? Let me know all of that in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, the Pistons have a few winnable games coming up. With how this season's went and with the goal I put onto them to play near 500 basketball after the trade deadline, they better win these games. We'll talk about what games I'm mentioning when we come back. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. I told you guys this many, many times a few years ago when betting became legal in Michigan. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know nothing about it. Was scared about it. Scared about getting into it. I downloaded FanDuel, made it super self-explanatory. I had a lot of fun with it. I have not turned back since. FanDuel is the best option out there. It's incredibly fun. And again, like I said, incredibly self-explanatory for anyone out there who is not into this already. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot today. That's what FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Head to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Shoot your shot. You get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet with FanDuel. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. I'm looking at the Detroit Pistons schedule. The team's 9-50, by the way. It's going. You know, it's a going. Actually, 9-51. My apologies. 9-51. Didn't say how bad it actually was. So I was listening to, I believe the Hoop Collective podcast with Brian Windhorst, Tim McMahon, and all that stuff. And they were mentioning the Pistons had come up, and they said the Pistons are not guaranteed to get out of the waters of having the worst record of all time, tying that 73 Philadelphia 76ers. And I sat there, my first thought was like, there's 22 games left. All they need to do is win one more game. No way they can't do that. That was my first thought. And then 5 seconds went by, and I realized this team had just lost 28 in a row. Like, 100% they're capable of losing 22 straight and not getting it. So that's 100% a possibility for them. It may be a tinier possibility than it was at the beginning of the year when they had 28. But it's a possibility nonetheless. So, sorry about that. Had to cut had to do something. Something's going on outside. My wife came in here, needed me to go check what's going on. So sorry about that. What I was basically saying was the Detroit Pistons have a slight possibility of not winning the rest of the year simply because they lost 28 games before that. So with these games coming up, they need to take advantage of this as soon as possible. And they need to win as many winnable games coming up as they can. And I think they have a few coming up. First one is the Nets on March 7th at home. I think that's a winnable game. They got to get that one. Against the Hornets, March 11th at home. Got to win that one. The Raptors on the 13th at home. I think they got to try to win that one. I think the Pacers are a sneaky one they could get if Tyrese Halliburton's going to continue to play like this and play hurt. And then they got the Wizards on March 29th. So by the end of this month, just this month alone in March, they got 1, 2, and this is in my opinion, by the way. And they got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the Wizards on the 29th, 5. I think they got 5 winnable games this month. They got to take advantage as soon as they possibly can. It's not a given they're going to get wins later on in the season. You got to get as many as possible, not just to avoid losing the historic record, but also so they get close to meeting what my expectations were for them after the trade deadline, where I thought they could play some near 500 basketball. But that's all I've got for you guys today, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think the Pistons are going to win some games this month? How many games do you guys think they're going to win? As you can hear, my dog's losing her mind. There is something going on outside. I got to get out of here. So thank you guys for listening to today's podcast. I'll catch you guys later. Leave a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace out.